space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to ReTrek. I'm Captain Jim. With me, of course, is Admiral Elliot.
Hi there.
And Dr. Squee.
Timber.
And this week, we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Lower Decks, which is Crisis Point 2 Paradoxus. And because we struggled a bit this week, we had lots of ideas, but none of them were as solid as we usually have. But in our defense, that's not our fault, because this one was parodying the movies mainly. So
even then, though, you got to admit, like there's so many little nuggets in each episode. You can still pick a dozen episodes which would kind of still fit.
Yeah, we did have. I think we had 4 or 5 episodes. Sure.
Yeah.
So we're going with Evil Twins, and we're going with The Enemy Within, which is a classic, super classic original series. I'm really looking forward to talking about that one. Yeah. But first, though, the long-awaited sequel. The sequel, I didn't think we'd get a sequel to this, but we got Crisis Point 2 Paradoxus. And it was a very welcome.
But the sequel we all wanted.
Yeah.
It's so weird because I think the first one was a really great, it sort of felt like a great out-and-out parody of the movies. This one does that, but it's kind of like a real heartfelt kind of message to it as well. I really think they've nailed the kind of mix between adult humor and Star Trek kind of morality goodness in this year's batch of episodes.
Yeah, and they certainly seem to be sort of doubling down on this real character focus now. Like we talked about, we had like a strong Rutherford episode and a strong Tendi episode, and now we're getting Boimler. So I'm liking that they really are deepening these characters now, as well as still giving us all the comedy.
Because that was the one who always the one I always point to is the kind of the sex-centric episode, which sort of like it kind of, I get it. They had in the other series like the Naked Now and the Naked Time, but it's like just when you had the engineer on an out-and-out, let's call it fucking episode, it just felt a little on Star Trek to me. Whereas like they still got the adult humor in this series, but they've also got kind of like the morality. It just feels just that extra bit Star Trek, which I really like. I feel like they nailed the tone in this series.
Yeah, they've not, I don't think they've put a foot wrong this season so far. No. I know that the Peanut Hamper episode was quite divisive, but I liked it.
I said my point on that last week.
You did indeed.
And they've redeemed themselves this week.
Okay. So as Dr. Squee introduced himself, my first note on this episode was, I just love that Kay-Sean kicks the door open and just goes, Timber!
He does it a couple of times in the episode. It's like his new catchphrase when he enters it. It was like, now he's worked out you can just use shorthands as opposed to the full metaphor.
Yeah, that's it. You don't even need the full metaphor now. But I suppose that is sort of how language develops, isn't it? Like, you know, you do shorten things. You know, you can almost, like, Cockney rhyming slang's a really good example. So you have apples and pears, stairs, but they might just say apples and assume
an awful one because they make words longer.
I know they do, but what I'm saying is
words to say one.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, you have something like orchestra halls, meaning testicles, orchestra halls, balls, but they'll just say the orchestras. So you're not saying the full thing. You're shortening the metaphor, if you like, which is what Kay-Sean's doing here.
One of the best examples was the guy who came up with the Klingon language for the Star Trek movies. There's one of the extras on the DVDs, which is great. He was talking about how he would be on the set and he'd be talking them through how you pronounce everything, how you say anything. But because of mispronunciations or they miss out a word or something like that, like there was one of the lines Christopher Lloyd had was to say, I will kill one of these, you choose who. But he missed out the word one, so it just meant like if you don't specify a number, it automatically needs one, and he incorporated it into the language. So he said like, what's happened to this language has basically happened in one movie what you'd spend like decades of language evolution, or even
Yeah.
centuries, usually just happens in a short span of time. So he kind of even incorporated everything into it, which I thought was genius. And apparently, because the directors, like to be on with said, it's like, oh, look, you're in charge of the language, so if you think something needs changing, let us know. So he kind of he stopped the scene because someone got something wrong, and he very quickly got the idea they didn't mean that much. And even Christopher Lloyd, apparently at the end of one scene, was seen kind of holding his head in his hands, and the director goes, no, you did great there, you did great. He goes, no, I screwed up the Klingon. So anyway, like, check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it is crazy, like how intricate any made-up language, like the Klingon language and Elvish and all that. You know, that the fact that they do think about all these rules and everything, and it is built like a proper language. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So the villains then in Crisis Point 2 are these Romulan triplets, and I really enjoyed that they each had a streak in the hair, but one of them had it in the middle, and one of them had it off to the left, and one of them had it off to the right.
Yeah, this was one where this was the other one of the episodes I suggested maybe as the partner was the Lerza and Bator, because they definitely seem to be the Romulan triplets and the Klingon sisters.
Klingon sisters, like there's definitely something going on there.
Play on it.
Which was nice. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and I know I mistook the Enterprise F for the Enterprise E in the Picard trailer last week, but we do get a Sovereign class in this episode.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ship.
It is. It's nice to see the Sovereign class. We hardly ever see them.
And beautifully animated again. And like, the ridiculous thing is how they animating some of these ships, and like we saw with DS9 as well. They actually look better than what they've been doing for the meant to be proper CGI in Discovery. When we've been seeing the ships, you can hardly make out what they are sometimes.
I mean, I think this has just sort of come to me now, but I think the reason we're being so impressed with the ships is even though the animated style on the people and everything else is heavily stylized and not realistic at all, the ships are the correct dimensions as to what we see them in, in inverted commas, live action. So they are just taking the models of the ships and showing them just in a slightly different style, but the dimensions and the look are right.
There's been a few shots, especially this series, where I think if you plant them into a live action series, you wouldn't notice it. Just they've looked that good this series, especially.
Some of them have.
Actually, speaking of Discovery, just what I remember, something came up on my Facebook memory saying it was 2 years ago today, I think it was, that we started covering just the lockdown series of Discovery.
Yes, yeah. So 2 years of live streaming today.
Yeah, so happy streamiversary.
Yeah. And then, so there's a bit of a dig at like the Kelvin films. Yeah, it's all on the holodeck, but we're at like they talk about what are they going to do? Recast us as younger actors and
in an alternate reality.
Stuff. That seems like a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, so I thought that was good fun.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I think we can pretty much close the book on the Kelvin timeline now, can't we? With the recent news that the latest film's been shelved again. I think that's
like,
I mean, just
the stupid thing they did was to announce it before speaking to the actors.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I just think if you leave it too long, then if they're meant to be them when they're kind of starting their missions, they're just going to age out of that.
Yeah.
Unless you set the story later on, during the 4th year of the 5-year mission or something.
Yeah, I think the next movie we're getting is the final TNG movie.
It could well be, yeah.
Give them their undiscovered country moment.
It's looking like that there's a lot of the cast hinting towards that, as we mentioned.
It does seem far more likely, doesn't it? It would be
nice, wouldn't it, for one last big screen outing for them and give them a proper undiscovered country moment.
And it should be on the big screen as well.
Yeah.
Like, let's not have it as a Paramount Plus. You can put it on there, but I want to see it on the big screen, and I will pay to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, you release it in the cinemas the same time as you put it online, the same way as they've done with Netflix in some cases.
But even if they do that, I will still pay to go see the cinema version of it. So, and I'm sure a lot of Star Trek fans will feel the same way. So please, please, please give us the cinema release for it.
Yeah, you saw in the day and age where you can have, have your cake and eat it too. You can put it straight on streaming, and you get loads of downloads, and you will get the Star Trek fans, which are so loyal, going out to see it. No Star Trek fans not going to see Star Trek on the big screen if you go.
No, a brand new, especially if it's a TNG movie in it, So the lab that they go to then is pretty much regular one from Wrath of Khan. Like, they've got the uniforms, they've got the screens that look exactly the same.
Is this on the planet Tadascore? Or it's something very close to Tadascore, because it sounds like it's the name of one of the cast, which I'm trying to remember who he plays now.
Oh, Fred. He plays
Fred Tadascore.
Yeah.
I know who you mean. Yeah.
But I know the planet names seem very similar to his, and later on you get a one which I know Elliot would have been pleased to see, especially seeing as the villain we see there. But I'll save that one.
They've even got that device that is the prop that's in everything ever. Yeah, they've even got that going on in there. So I love
that prop's been in everything: Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica, Knight Rider, the Hulk, everything.
Yeah, it's just one of them props.
Yeah, if you did sci-fi in the late 70s, 80s, you had the universal prop.
And you got Carol Marcus, the uniform which she wears in the in the Genesis weapon planet.
You get Boimler gets called out though, doesn't he? Before this, he gets to see Ransom, and you don't hear what's really said there. But when he comes back and he says, "Oh, it's just about duty rosters," and he's in a bad mood, I was thinking one of them had been reassigned.
Oh yeah, could have been. But
I did actually think about
the first time watching it through. I don't know what it was, but the first time watching it through, it was sort of like, "Oh, is he being told like he's being moved off duty roster with them or something?"
I did think actually now think about it, I didn't think at the time, but do you think this was a subtle nod to Generations as well? There's a bit where Picard goes off, gets music, get to hear straight away, and then he comes back very sullen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could well be. Yeah, it's a deep cut as well, but it certainly fits. The dramatic beats, you're right, are exactly the same. Yeah, brilliant. And when he comes back, then he's not interested in the romantic subplot now. And Mariner's like, no, what are you doing?
I'm not. This is becoming a trend now. Beautiful women throw themselves at Boimler, and he's just totally uninterested.
To be fair, he programmed this one, so maybe he programmed her to be total. Maybe there wasn't a romantic subplot. Boimler was always intending to.
No, because the hologram character, when he does Shudder, he's sort of like, well, what am I meant to do now? What's my function?
Yeah, true.
It's just Mariner going, it's like, come on, what's the point in programming a hot chick if you're not going to get laid or something along these lines? It's great.
Yeah. And it's another one where it's good watching it the second time when you know what Boimler's found out, because all of a sudden he's talking about existential life and death things, and we should have maybe been clued in a little bit more, but I think because the jokes are sort of
pace of it, and there's so much happens so fast.
That's it. Yeah, the jokes are thick and fast.
You pick up little bits, but you miss other bits the first time viewing.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it's also when Boimler gets on the planet in the next scene, and we got the marketplace, and he's kind of just go straight into the subplot character. It just reminds me of so many D&D games where they where we've been playing, and the dungeon master's intricately laid out exactly where we're going, and like there's a big obvious thing we're meant to follow. And then me and my party would just go off and go, it's like, hey, you random character over there, what are you up to? And it's like, you can see the Dungeon Master frantically scribbling things out and rewriting plot to try and get you back.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I remember I ran a Star Wars one once, and I put a stormtrooper in it who was going to turn out to be a bit of a dirty stormtrooper. He was basically he was going to be fiddling with himself. And I put it in as a joke. It were like they were meant to follow the stormtrooper and see what he were up to and have a laugh, but they were like, no, we're going to break into his house and we're going to interrogate him. And I'm like, no, you don't want to do that. So that shows me for trying to put silly joke characters in RPG campaigns. But yeah, I like when he's talking to like this wise person and Mariner's like, oh, well, obviously the computer's having to make up a backstory for him now. And it is like a pause while he's almost like buffering while the computer fills in a story for him.
Yeah, oh, no, it's wonderful. I love the idea that it was kind of an adaptive program as well. So again, it just reminded me of the DM trying to quickly rewrite and say some stuff to you while he's trying to engineer it around what he wants or to.
Meanwhile, the rest of the crew go back in time to the Great Algae Crisis, which I feel like we need to explore that more at some point, you know.
Oh, and they just the nice little kind of like, so they did the little dots of dust on the screen and hairs, like, you know, like
so nice. We get the different aspect ratio and it looks like film, and the bit where they go back, it looks kind of like Star Trek 4. They're going for that sort of time period, so we're getting another callback.
So a bit before Star Trek 4, but
no, the bit where the algae crisis is, they're in the like TOS movie uniforms and everything. So I feel like that was a deliberate sort of nod. So this is the other time, this is the time we did time travel in the movies. So, but Mariner goes off at this point, and then she finds out that William Boimler's died. Oh, has he? I bought it though. I was like, all right, they've obviously decided to kill him off.
Yeah,
we're not revealing that yet.
Well, we do find that out here because Ransom tells her here.
Yeah, that he's died.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, the final twist I shouldn't have revealed too early. Yeah, you're right. I apologise.
No, we're talking about the episode. Like, everyone... we don't always talk about things in order. Spoilers for the whole episode in advance. It's not in real time, the spoilers in this episode.
But yeah, 92 then, and they're in Australia.
Terminator.
Terminator. But Terminator wanted Australia. I was racking my brain trying to think.
When he first arrives, he gets attacked by punks.
Oh, yeah.
So, and they beat him up, and then you have Rutherford there. Wait, I've got to do the best part, stealing the clothes.
Yeah, you're right. I wonder why they say it in Australia, though. I was trying to think if there was any...
I couldn't... Nothing springs to mind with it. Why they went to Australia.
It doesn't me, but, I suppose you've got cartoon... You've got the limitless budget. If you want to do a location shot in Australia, you can do. So
yeah. Also answers why like everything in Star Trek always happens in America whenever they go to Earth. So now they
absolutely there. Usually Los Angeles.
I mean, it's much like Doctor Who. Why is everything happening around the UK? Mainly London
or Cardiff
nowadays.
Or Sheffield. At least they mixed it up. But speaking of which, the regeneration episode on Sunday, so that'll be interesting.
I'm going to see how they completely nail the landing, of course, as they have throughout the Jodie.
Oh, yes.
Chibnall era.
It's been a carefully constructed arc, and I'm sure it'll pay off dividends in the finale. Anyway.
Maybe they can repeat a few more greatest hits of Moffat and RTD while they're at it.
Maybe so.
Throwing Gallifrey, throwing in a new Doctor. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, we'll find out on Sunday. Sorry for taking us down that path. Great bit where Boimler's talking to people, she goes, and Mariner says, like, look, they probably don't even have any names. He's like, of course we have names. Nameless Acolyte 2, come over here, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then Tendi, we're still doing a bit of character development for Tendi, because now she wants to be a captain. And she's come to realization and everything. So I really hope we pay this up. Like, I know, okay, she's not going to get promoted to captain next week, so we're not in the Kelvin timeline, but...
No, but we've seen her doing a bridge science officer training and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that there's a bit of direction for her, and she's going to be the one who wants to go down the command path. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes.
I mean, mainly with Star Trek, but especially with kind of when it's animation, you expect them to sort of like, oh, she's in sick bay, she's probably going to follow that path. So it's really lovely that they aren't afraid to mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be one of them where you don't see it coming, but it really pays off. Like when Nog decided to join Starfleet, you were like, what? But it actually was brilliant.
Oh, but watching it back, that was the making of the Nog character. He was so much more interesting after that. Everything after that is more interesting than anything you played before. It gave him so much more to do.
Yeah.
And they beat the Romulans. But that's not sort of the main focus now, because Boimler gets to meet a rock monster.
Planet Shatner. Nearly Planet Shatner.
Yeah, nearly Planet Shatner, and he meets a rock monster. So they know what they're doing here.
I thought was how overjoyed Elliot would be. I was like, I was pleased, but I thought Elliot would just be throwing a parade after this.
I know who we get as the guest star now. But I really thought that they had managed to pull it off to get Bill.
Yeah, it did. I mean, there's a really clear, obvious misdirect, which we'll get to in a second. But I like the sort of punchline of the rock monster scene that it's a biplane, and he's just like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And also, like, he just jumps inside the rock monster and just starts wailing on it. Going psycho was very satisfying.
He does have a bit of a meltdown, doesn't he, at this point, which is what leads us into what may or may not be a dream, may or may not be the afterlife, may or may not be the Nexus, but we are on Kirk's ranch from the Nexus, and they very deliberately set it up to make us think that we're getting a Captain Kirk cameo.
It was. We've gone to Planet Shatner, or however they've written it. So it's nearly Planet
Shatnari.
Yeah, we have rock monsters, where we all know rock monsters should have been in Star Trek 5. They will make Star Trek 5 when that gets remastered. And then we have the sign. We're at his ranch and it's there. Kirk.
Yeah.
Plainly.
Yeah. I just thought it was just lovely. Well, Sula goes, he's off traveling through time or some such nonsense. Who knows?
I do like how Boimler goes. It first goes Captain Kirk, and then it's Sulu stands up. No, Captain Sulu, actually.
Yeah. Oh my, no.
Even better.
And I wonder, I mean, this could have been one or two things. They could have tried to get Shatner, and when he said no, they went with George Takei. Or what they could be doing is just completely mugging Shatner off here. Because obviously it's well publicised that there's a feud between George Takei and Bill Shatner. And the fact that they've made it look like it's going to be Kirk, only to have George Takei and have the characters even happier about that. It's just...
I bet you they offered it to Shatner. I don't think he would say no, but I think he would request a boatload of money, which just for an animated kind of little cameo would have just been ridiculous. I bet George Takei would have just done it for... I'm sure he got paid a fee, but I bet he just did it for the love of it.
I'm sure he would have done, yeah. And... I wonder, I could go either way on it. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they're doing it just to annoy Shatner.
I wonder if they did offer it to Shatner and Shatner wanted a bigger part.
Maybe,
It's probably a bigger part and more money, and then maybe they punked him. I don't think they want to piss him off before asking him, but if he was a bit of a dick about it, maybe, as Shatner has been wont to be.
I mean, the thing is, Shatner almost certainly will never see this, so he won't know that they've done this.
I bet he watches the new Star Trek every week.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I think when people have asked him, he said no, but maybe he does it.
No, but I think
he don't want to admit that he actually loves it.
How you read his books?
He didn't watch it.
when he wrote his books, like his Star Trek books, he did loads of sort of like little references to stuff which was happening in Voyager or Deep Space Nine at the time. So I think he does. I think he protects too much that he doesn't.
Yeah, when he wrote his Star Trek books, though.
It doesn't
matter. Well, you read them.
Bill
Shatner's very egocentric towards him. I think he did right.
Is the granddaddy.
He is, but I think most people prefer George Takei if it came down to it. I mean, officially we have to be neutral in this debate between the two of them, but I think I'd be Team George if I had to take a side.
I'm going to just say I'm fans of both of them.
I'm a fan of both
I've met
of
them
them.
both and I like them both. And they're both nice when I met them.
True.
But let's face it, you probably like George Takei, or I do anyway. I'll just speak for myself. I like George Takei as a human being and the kind of way he purports himself. Shatner is a wonderful, huge buffoon. He's great at being Kirk, but he has so many bets in himself. I can easily see why he'd be a nightmare to work with. But like, oh god, when I saw him on stage presenting Wrath of Khan, he's endlessly entertaining.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I give him man his due, but I think probably by all accounts, it seems like his massive ego makes him a pain in the ass to work with.
Well, the Lower Decks producers haven't worked with him that we know of. Maybe it's all a bait and switch, and we will get a Shatner cameo. And this is just.
I wouldn't put that past Lower Decks either to set.
I wouldn't
so much, and then not have it, and then have it 2 episodes down the line.
Yeah,
a massive role.
Did you guys catch what the name of the horse was?
Horsey.
No, he did say its name. His name was Athos, which is obviously a reference to the Three Musketeers. And Sulu thought he was D'Artagnan when he was in The Naked Time. So I thought that's a great deep cut reference.
I thought maybe when you said that, it was also maybe a reference to Porthos the dog.
No, well, yeah, I suppose 2 for 1. So that, I mean, that's just, it is fan service, but if you can do that all day, that's absolutely beautiful.
We have no problem with fan service like this.
No.
But I do want to point out one more thing about them having George Takei.
Mm-hmm.
His name didn't appear until the end titles.
Absolutely right. No, he got a special appearance by
a surprise guest star. You don't put the name at the start of the episode.
Absolutely. So the live action shows, please take note of that. They have got a bit better for it, but not enough.
But this is how you do a surprise. Because I saw nothing on social media.
No, nothing at all.
That it was going to be in Lower Decks. It wasn't in the titles. And then there he was. And he's in the end credits is where his name appears.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we get a joke about, well, we got a happy ending. I hate it when things end on a dark cliffhanger, and then we get the dark cliffhanger.
and they address what everyone says about the Section 31 badges. It's like,
hey,
if we're a freaking organization, why do we wear this? No, it's fine, it's okay.
No, I could shoot you. So I do wonder if could the long-term plan for this be that if the Section 31 TV show ever happens, we know that Michelle Yeoh is jumping through time now with the Guardian of Forever. Could Jack Quaid as William Boimler be in the Section 31 show if it ever happened?
It's quite possible how you tie in these different shows.
Yeah. So we'll leave that one hanging, but that'd be pretty cool if they did that.
I did like how we have the evil laugh at the
I completely
end,
forgot about the Section 31 show, as I believe the producers did.
I think most people have forgotten about the Section 31 show, but you never know.
It's getting a mention every now and again by Kurtzman.
Yeah, they've not officially said it's dead.
You've also got the last series of Picard about to happen, so maybe they did purposely plan it so that, because they always plan 3 years for the Picard show. Maybe it was always planned.
Yeah, there's going to be a live action slot open, isn't there, if they want to keep the schedule they have.
Like, let's talk about this Academy show, which we reckon is going to be Tilly. And that'd be ideal falling when Discovery ends.
Mm-hmm.
Tilly and Admiral Silver Daddy Bear, please. We've got to have that magic team.
Universe going, as that timeline going, don't you? And you can bring people who've been in Discovery can come in every now and again on a guest episode.
Absolutely, yeah.
The guy with the bird clock as well. I was always a fan of him.
Yes.
Like Discovery's dug a hole for its own back jumping so far in the future.
It has, yeah.
We're still exploring, I'm going to say now, but you know what I mean? We're exploring sort of just after Next Generation. We're still in that timeline we're quite
I mean,
we've got Picard running there, Lower Decks running there, Prodigy running there.
Yeah, I think Kurtzman said that he considers Picard where that is to represent the present day, if you like, of the Star Trek timeline, and discussing the far future, Strange New Worlds in the past. So, but there's nothing to stop, like you say, the Discovery timeline being carried on in a show or whatever, as well as...
Because there's been talk since the 70s of doing an Academy show. There's this in the future, where Discovery is, where the Federation has pretty much collapsed. It's the perfect time to do a new Academy show as you try to build up Starfleet again.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I kind of really like the Picard model, which they've used kind of in Star Wars to great effect, of just having these limited run shows. I think that'd be really cool. I wouldn't mind a few more of those. So like you can have the Academy show being like 3 years. You follow one particular group of kind of cadets through from kind of induction to passing out, or like 5 years, or however long it is they're in there for. Be great.
Well, it's about 10 minutes if you watch Star Trek 09.
Only if your name's Kirk.
True, and they do have a 3-year time jump, so I'm being unnecessarily nasty.
Yeah, I mean, no, that is wackadoodle. Like, still, just it gets on board the ship, and it's like, okay, Lieutenant, no, he's the captain now. Is he? Fuck. I'm sorry, but
yeah.
So, the enemy within, then. Now, this episode, very special to me, because I've probably told the story before, but many episodes ago, I'm sure. The way I got into Star Trek, like I'd always seen Star Trek, I'd seen Next Gen a little bit when it started, and I'd seen the movies. But they started re-showing the original series on Sky, and they showed it in production order. And I was off school poorly at the time. I think I had like flu or something. And my dad said, you need to tape Star Trek every morning because I want to watch them when I get home from work. So I was up at whatever time it was because I was throwing up and all sorts. And it was shown twice a day on Sky. It was like something like 7 in the morning, then 5 at night. And so at 7 in the morning, I would start the taping Star Trek. And I thought, you know what? I'll watch this. And by the time we got to Thursday, which was this episode, this was when I realized I was absolutely hooked on it. You know, the first few, I was like, oh, that was better than I thought it'd be. So I was very skeptical. You know, you try and be cool, don't you, when you're a kid? And I was very skeptical. And then that was where No Man Has Gone Before. And then Corbomite Maneuver, I was like, oh, that was good as well. Mud Swimming, But then this one, I was just like, this is actually really awesome, is this? And, you know, that weekend, I was getting like Star Trek withdrawal because they weren't showing it. It was only weekdays. So this episode is responsible for me being a Trekkie, I think. And also written by Richard Matheson, who is an awesome writer. And check out his Twilight Zone episodes as well. Absolutely brilliant writer. So I'm a big fan.
Here I am adorned with a plethora of Shatners, like a wreath around my neck, and it's man, it's like he never chewed the scenery before this episode. He's just goes at it with such gusto. Like, you know, he may go big in some other episode, but I dare you to find a one where he goes bigger than this one. Like, his evil Kirk is so much joy to behold. It's so stupid. No, so ridiculously big. I didn't say stupid, but just so large.
To your right, above your shoulder, you've got the first view we got of Evil Kirk in the episode. And it has that typical, with the 60s lighting, you can see they've turned off the lights of the transporter and everything.
Yeah.
There's just one light shining up at him.
We won't see mood lighting like this in Star Trek until Generations, when they want to make the Enterprise D look a bit more edgy. Just looks like they've forgotten to put money in the meter.
Yeah, they were on energy savers then, weren't they?
Oh,
but yeah, the reveal of Evil Kirk, that why does he do a dramatic spin towards the camera? Like, it's crazy.
I think he was ready to attack someone.
Maybe, yes, good point.
Also, we've established like they have to do the little kind of buttons to make the transporter work. Why does it work a second time automatically? I mean, you'd think there would be a feature against this.
Well, they say that happened with the dog as well, which, shout out to the dog. You would not get away with doing that these days. But they were just like, right, get a dog, stick an arm on it, stick these little antenna things on it.
I think it's a one piece, like it's a sort of like dog onesie, so I don't think it's that bad.
No, I'm sure it wasn't painful or anything. I mean,
you see other ones,
silly outfits
literally
for
for Mr. Ed, they had hooks in the horse's mouth to make its lips smooth, to make it move along the dialogue. Horrific. Like, this is just putting a dog in a onesie. I think Star Trek's okay. I think he gets away with this.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, for the vast majority of its appearances in this episode, someone's always holding it. Yeah. So they weren't letting the poor bugger just wander around in this thing. It was.
And when they're holding it, if the face is into the camera and you can see it's just basically it's a doll or something.
No,
but I'm just saying, like,
surely
a few times you do see it, it's a onesie. I think we're okay.
One of the things I really admire, and I'd not thought about this until rewatching this episode, just for this show, is that the transporter as a concept was brought in because they couldn't afford to have shuttles taking off and landing every week.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that that's been introduced, but then one of the writers has gone, okay, so what can we do with that? You've invented this technology. What can we do to get an interesting story out of that?
Got this prop. What can we do with it?
Yeah, I think the transporter, as a result, became such an engine for story development. I mean, the other thing I want to just kind of like, maybe you guys have seen something that I haven't in this, but when they stop using the transporter because it's duplicating people. Like, when Sulu asked for coffee, what are they worried about? He's going to get an evil cup of brew the second time?
It could taste really bad. He's going to get
a boiling hot one that had cooled down to temperature he could have, and a freezing cold one.
Yeah, just wait for the cold, the one to cool down, which is supremely hot, if that's the case. Or don't drink the second one if you're a bit worried. I don't think duplicating coffee is a big concern.
Maybe one of them would have been poisonous, so it's like, there's no way of telling which one.
We're going to beam down some blankets to you, but we're worried the second one will be asbestos.
Yeah, because what have happened,
you're going to get a lovely fluffy duvet, and you're going to get a holy rag.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they probably could have. Also, why don't they use the shuttles? I know the answer is because we've not built the shuttles yet. But what they would have done if they'd have thought of that is they'd have probably said there's a storm in the atmosphere that's causing the transporter problem. That's why we can't take a shuttle.
That was a reason.
I remember, I always sort of fan fictioned it in my head that for some reason the Enterprise didn't have shuttles.
Well,
and after this episode, Spock requisitioned them. So he was like, we need shuttles so nothing like that happens again.
Oh, I like that. That's nice. I like the idea.
I have a go at them for not doing things like this, but this is the 5th episode.
Exactly.
And at this point, all we've seen is transporters.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they should have run in the evil coffee, though. You just get, when the second cafetiere gets beamed down after the first one, you get the music from Amok Time and it just zooming in on this cafetiere going
be like, what is it, the triplicator in Red Dwarf, where they've got the strawberries and one of them's brilliant and the other one's got maggots in it.
There's a YouTube channel I follow. He's building the Doomsday Machine at the moment. So he showed the clip with the music playing. And then he goes, I hadn't realised before, But I know where John Williams got his idea for Jaws.
So yeah, we find out that the evil dogs come up, and at the same time we get evil Kirk bursting into sick bay and saying, "Randy!"
Randy!
Also,
Which it just so happens Bones has got in a cupboard in sick bay, which I think is a great detail.
Hey, that's canonical. When they see the first Doctor in the cage, he's got a little alcohol section in there. So I think that's
and he goes and makes him martinis in his quarters.
Yeah.
I'd say also, like, the thing which is most telling is when they go in for the brandy, you see on the shelf above, there's what looks suspiciously like Odo's bucket.
There you go. Well,
it looks like it's the same prop, just painted a different colour.
You know why that is? It'll be because Dax has stolen it again, and we know that Dr. McCoy had a bit of a thing with one of the Daxes. So maybe the Dax symbiont has got a weird klepto thing for things that look like buckets. I don't know.
Or like Dax has gone like really far on this prank and sent it back in time to her former self to hide.
Yeah, to hide it on the original Enterprise. Yep, very good.
Let's find it here.
That's a comic book that we need exploring, I think, there.
Well, we have had transporter accidents, I'm sure, that have gone through time.
Oh, you have, yeah. Past tense, parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
First one that comes to mind, I'm sure there's been more.
I also love how long it takes them. And they don't put up a shipwide communication after they've this evil Kirk going, by the way, if Kirk's around there, don't trust it's him. Like, just there's an evil person going around. You might want to be careful. No, they just let Nurse Rand be abused by him.
There's this sort of undercurrent to it, isn't there? That it's like we can't show the captain to be this fallible.
Well, yeah.
I'm not sure that justifies it, but that's the internal notification.
Writing is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, you've got to remember, this is a 60s show. This is going back to, what would this be, 66 this came out? So this is right in the middle of the 60s, and it's still that very male-orientated military.
Yeah.
And chauvinistic with writing. And though Star Trek brought in female characters and that, but they were only able to get so far with what the studios had let them do. You still have the writers who are writing that way. Yeah,
that's it. I think we would accept now if this were Captain Picard and he said there's an intruder who looks like me and he's doing this. Fair enough, and we know that the crew would accept it, but there was more, like you say, of a strict sort of hierarchy that was generally accepted in them days.
And it's also fair to say, it's a good point because even though Roddenberry was ahead of his time, he's still a product of his time. Who knows where his exact blind spots were? There's probably loads of sexism today that we do, which we don't even think about. Like in the future,
absolutely. So let's talk about the scene with Rand then, because this is, and I'm sure it's meant to be, but it is very, very uncomfortable.
Well, as we find out that it isn't an evil Kirk, it's sort of like the part of Kirk that's very forward and he's aggressive side and all that, but it is still a part of Kirk's personality.
I think it's fair to say this part of his personality, unchecked on its own, is evil. Like once you incorporate it with the rest of him, and it gets tempered with other things. But I think those qualities on their own.
This raises an interesting thing that he went to Rand's quarters, and the things he says that this sort of reveals that Kirk deep down does find her attractive. And
she's a woman. Of course he does.
Kirk's a womanizer. But he does tend to steer clear of womanizing with his crew.
Yeah, he does. And I think that's ultimately why they wrote Rand out, wasn't it? Because they were like, well, there is clearly a chemistry between the characters and we can't have the captain having an affair with it. So we just don't know what to do with her.
That's another American military thing where you can't sort of be fraternising with a subordinate, with a lower officer.
Yeah, and to be fair, that's something...
SG-1 that's still carried on with Jack O'Neill and Amanda Carter, that there's the chemistry between them, but they can't let anything happen because there's a superior officer.
Yeah.
They've both been driven out of the Force.
And it is carried through, like, to Voyager, where, you know, that's why Janeway ends up making people on the holodeck, because she can't have this relationship. So that is something that's been maintained.
Apart from when she gets stuck on a planet of monkeys and shoots
yes, yes.
Or the monkey, we're not sure which.
No,
we're giving
not sure.
the benefit of the doubt, just.
Look, I'm just going to say, I quite like the episode. I like the fact that they kind of get to explore.
We just like whipping on Chakotay.
Yeah, no. Chakotay heavy episodes, not. That's just given me. That's one that I might have to talk about when we do the When Trek Goes Wrong show.
Okay, I'm going to be on the defense on that one.
Right, we'll see.
I've got ideas of that, and not just doing episodes. I think it's more looking at traits than it does sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
I don't think there's enough time to look at episodes.
Not in any depth.
Oh, no, I think like it's a 20-minute kind of like short hop through the episode, or even 10 or whatever, and then we have time for dishonorable mentions, any like things from
I've got a bit. I may have a bit of a surprise for that.
We'll have a brainstorming session when we're not live.
I may have a bit of a surprise for that to reveal.
Excellent.
Actually, on the thing, which will totally derail any plans you have.
So, good Captain
Sam Stone completely.
Can I throw
Good Captain Kirk does us all a favour at this point and starts wearing the green tunic so that we can easily distinguish.
Yeah, the Shatner rap. I love the fact that it's any of these kind of things. Which I mean, I think this was one of the first times you had an evil twin kind of scenario, which wasn't an actual evil twin. Loads of shows have done it since, and there's always an excuse for them to wear another top for no apparent other reason. Like if you watch Jet Li's The One. There's a bit where they do a fight scene. They're both wearing the exact same overalls and t-shirt combo. And then one of them, for no reason, just before the fight, takes it down, ties it around his waist so he looks different. There's no reason for him to do it whatsoever. It's just blatantly there. And this
so his arms
I love it.
That makes sense.
But why doesn't the other one do it then?
That's a good... you see, it's just blagging me out.
Comfortable in what he was wearing. He was more mature.
Yeah, it's... because they're from different universe, he just ordered it one size up so he had more fighting room. You got it. Okay, we've rushed.
There we go. So then there's a conversation between Good Kirk and Yeoman Rand, and this was really interesting, I thought, particularly viewed from our lens, however many years in the future, because she starts talking about, well, you're the captain and I couldn't really say no and all. And it brings to mind all the Me Too stuff and all these people who use positions of power. And it's like, is this Gene Roddenberry commenting on that through Star Trek? I mean, we know he used it to deal with issues, but this is an issue that has largely gone unacknowledged until very recently. And it does just make you wonder, like, is he commenting on these power relationships in studios and stuff here?
I don't mean to jump too much to the end, but there is a bit which Spock says later, which was really weird, because he's talking to Nurse Rand Yeoman Rand, and he goes, Evil Kirk. I know he didn't call him that, because the alternative captain did have some interesting points, though. And it's like he's talking to her, who's basically been violated by this guy.
Yeah,
it was really weird. Did you?
I have that.
See any reason for that line? I don't get that line at all.
I don't. I made a note of it, and I just thought, like, what is Spock playing at here? Like, is that meant to be funny? Is it meant to? Like, if it is meant to be funny, it doesn't work.
Even for the time, I didn't get it.
Because, the only way I feel you can read it is he's almost saying to her, I can tell that you fancied a bit of Evil Kirk. And it's like, even if that were true, and even if a character thought that, Spock would never say that to someone.
No.
Yeah, I've never noticed that bit before, and I just felt so uncomfortable and just
it's awful.
Even
like the whole way that
it being concession to the studio, it just doesn't seem any reason to put that in there.
No,
the whole way that Yeoman Randy's dealt with in this, because she's violated by this guy.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't actually rape her, but he attacks her.
Yeah.
Etc. And he's done as much as he could get away with on TV in the 60s. He's gone as far as he could get away with on TV in the 60s. But nothing's really done about it for her.
The thing, them not doing anything about it wasn't cool at all. I'm not trying to excuse it, but it just seems like an inaction to actively say something so vile seeming, quite frankly. For
Spock to mock her for it. I don't know what they were trying to get out of that. And apart from it being out of character for Spock, it'd be bad from whoever delivered it, I suppose.
Yeah, I wonder if this is another product of it being something of the 60s. That
maybe
you were asking for it because you're always sort of flirting with the captain.
I mean, that's
come on the bridge.
That is almost the implication.
You're partly to blame for what happened to you.
Yeah, but
that's how it comes across, and I can imagine that because she did used to get a lot of that. That used to be a common sort of perception through the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, well, even today, sadly.
That, you flirted. Oh, well, it's your own fault. You deserved it. You were egging them on. You got more than you bargained for when you egged them on. It's your fault for egging them on.
It seemed beyond the pale. It was the weirdest thing.
But this is
exactly
what they're doing here.
I don't know. It just. But again, I can't see who was asking for it. I can't imagine the studio's asking for that to be in there.
It's. I mean, we can maybe chalk it up to not being in character for Spock. It's still early days. It was only the 4th episode produced, but that line shouldn't have been in the episode at all. It serves no purpose. Because
Spock was so Spock-like earlier. The bit which sequentially we're getting onto next is where he was saying it's isn't it interesting how you with all your kind of goodness you can't make these decisions because this side of you helps you be more kind of decisive more and also that kind of does read as if it's kind of the masculine attitudes of the day of being because man has to be strong, man has to be able to punch things to be able to make a decision. So it's not exactly kind of bulletproof to today's standards, but it's Spock engaged in that logical kind of thing.
And this is where I know we've mentioned the histrionics of Evil Kirk, but this is where William Shatner, the actor, shows what he's capable of, because Indecisive Kirk is a really good sort of nuanced performance, and how he distinguishes between the 3 different Kirks that he's presenting here. I mean, obviously, Evil Kirk is as over the top as you possibly could be. But if we...
Bill, just go have fun.
But if we leave Evil Kirk to one side for a minute, the way you can easily tell the difference between Indecisive Kirk and normal Kirk, I know I'm jumping around, but right at the end, when he finally beams back in, he's just get them men beamed up now. And you're Kirk's back. This is the proper Captain Kirk. I do think 2 out of the 3 performances he gives in this episode, I think, are legitimately great performances. And then Evil Kirk is great for different reasons. But
I agree. I certainly agree with the nuanced performance as well. By the way, it does remind me, there was a audio book which sprang to my mind while watching this. There's one where they've got, I think it's Dark Mirror. It's when Next Generation in book and audio form does the Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
And when he's trying to make his decision, about what to do, Picard goes to the holodeck and engages a program of this happening. So it's Indecisive Kirk deciding about what he's going to do. And he kind of used that for advice. It's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
This is a shout out.
And yeah, this is the bit where we do get the ultimate sort of meltdown from Evil Kirk, where he's, I'm Captain Kirk! And that's one of Shatner's greatest moments.
Yeah, it's also very nice, like very Star Trek for having the indecisive Kirk going like, no, come on, I need you. And the other one going, no, I'm Evil Kirk.
Yeah, the confrontation between the two of them, like, I must admit, I thought that happened later in the episode, but there's actually quite a bit after you get this confrontation. And, you know, the back of the head of the stuntman does not look like the back of William Shatner's head. But beyond that, the split screen stuff is pretty good.
And it would have looked better. Like, his hairline's all wrong.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Star Trek, the original, was never good with stuntmen. Like, there's so many times when...
This wasn't just... This carried on in American TV right into the 80s, if not the 90s. This was a common thing.
Oh, yeah.
Where the stuntman would not look like who they were meant to be.
I mean, with the 90s stuff, you can sort of... I think with the original series, even on, like, the... oldest of TVs, you could still tell when Spock's, especially his hair would go curly and he'd suddenly have a beard when he's not in the mirror universe, by the way, before anyone says that. But like in the when you get to the 90s ones, I think it was because at the time you couldn't freeze frame it like we can now. So they kind of probably thought, oh, no one knows. Like I sent you guys a screenshot of there was a Klingon one and Martok kind of goes back into some other Klingons and his just face is different. It's just a different guy. It looks nothing like him. But back then, probably like the TV standards and like the briefness of the frame, it probably would have grown up.
Well, that's it.
But yeah, on
like
digital,
with videotape, you couldn't freeze frame like we can now.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, in the digital age, that did not stand out very well.
No. And then, would you believe it? Evil Kirk shoots and he hits the thing, and it only happens to be the transporter console, which makes it all even worse. Like, what a bit of bad luck of all the things.
And it's going to take Scotty a week to fix it.
Which means what? 2.5 days?
Oh, this is ours.
Yeah, no, it's going to take a week to fix, but we need it now, Scotty. All right, then. It's done.
And then one of my favourite cliches, using phasers to heat up rocks. This is where it's originated by Sulu.
Classic.
So, well done, Sulu.
Let's use a phaser like that.
It did. But they do it a lot.
Don't they do it in, I think they do it in Next Generation in an episode, and you've got like certainly no
Vex. It's done in loads. It's done in Voyager, it's done in DS9.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've said before, in that I would credit this to the comedian who said it if I could remember which comedian it was, but the phasers have 4 settings. They have stun, kill, heat up rocks, and cut through things, and that's
Eddie Izzard. He talks about all the many other
Eddie Izzard. Right.
Like listeners.
So, Evil Kirk is dying, and Good Kirk confronts him and everything, and then we do get like a sick bay scene where we have a discussion about how you need both sides for your power, and to overcome fear, you need the rationality and everything. It's all great stuff. It's very, very Star. This is fundamentally what Star Trek does, and I love all of it. They fix the transporter, and this might be the first he's dead, Jim, when the little dogs died.
Oh, and it's exactly on, because so many times, although he's quoted saying that, usually it's a variation on the theme.
Yeah.
This is a dead on. He's dead, Jim, and it's about a dog, which is just wonderful.
And then one of the most comedic bits with Indecisive Kirk is when you've got Spock saying, right, well, obviously you need to do this, and you're right, Mr. Spock. And then Bones said, but wait a minute, Jim, what about, oh no, Bones is right as well. And it does get to quite comic extremes in this. That's a good part. Oh, actually.
Well, by the way, I wanted me to address the fact that I just said it's wonderful it's a dog that dies. I don't mean that it's wonderful that a dog dies. No. I meant that they used the first it's dead Jim potentially on a dog. I found wonderful.
Right? Yes.
Okay, we're all right. Okay, she's allowed us.
And then Evil Kirk manages one final blag to get away from it all. He's like, oh, you need to help me, I don't feel... And then you get the standoff on the bridge. So Kirk's tried all episode to keep this under wraps, but they end up having this standoff on the bridge, so everybody knows. But they fix him eventually. So
yeah,
and like I said,
heart to heart.
Yeah. And I do love the bit where it's like, he's back, the real Captain Kirk, beam them men down. Shatner can be good. And here he is.
He's good.
Yeah, that's what I said. Shatner can be good.
And we never get Sulu with his coffee, though. I needed closure there. I'm just saying.
Well, Sulu gets his revenge. That's why he ended up buying that ranch off of him. So he's like, I'll get him for not bringing me the coffee.
Also, that's why when you see him in the episode of Voyager, and also in the film, he has his tea brought to him. He's like, I'm not making that mistake again. Yeah,
no, that's it. Exactly. He switched to tea. Maybe that's it. Maybe he don't want coffee now. It's put him off that. Maybe they did beam him an evil coffee. And that's why he switches to tea. So he's like, okay, you won't believe what they did to me back in there.
Well, in a deleted scene, Evil Kirk pisses in the coffee supply ready for when he gets
back. Evil Kirk, taking it too far.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah, we've addressed a few issues with it, but I do think this is an absolute classic episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Episode we look back on of the original series, we are going to see something that's politically,
of course,
sexually, racially incorrect because it's a product of its time. But you've also got to remember, at its time, it was ahead of what everything else was doing for being politically.
Absolutely.
I'm with you, but at the same time, I do think this one is one of those ones where it's like Code of Honor in Next Generation.
We don't have any moment where Evil Kirk goes, woman! Fight for me, woman!
No, that's about race. This is about sexism, and like that line from I'm not saying the whole episode. I'm just saying that line from Scott is particularly hard to forgive.
That leaves a very bad taste at the end of the episode, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, the rest of it, the whole thing about the woman being put in a subservient position where she is meant to just take it. Essentially, that is a product of its time. That I could sort of like understand that you just write it better now, whereas that end bit just
I think you can see with the end bit that I think that they were trying to be funny or something, but you can see no one starts laughing with it. Because you did often get the last line of the episode.
Oh yeah, when they
everyone would start laughing with it.
I mean, that would have been monumentously tone deaf if Spock had have said that.
But this is what I mean. It's like, look, we can excuse so much from the time. I think that was just really bad.
By
Roddenberry standards, he usually would not have a line like that in there.
And
maybe because he is so much better. That's why we like the show, and that's why I really dislike that bit. But
yes, I agree, and I've never noticed it before, but probably because when we're watching episodes to talk about them on this show, believe it or not, listeners, we do actually pay attention and think about things to say. Though it may not always come across that way.
I agree but yes, it is a classic episode, though. It is really the whole plot and the whole idea of it. You could do that episode today, and it would work. You just kind of tweak some of the stuff we talked about.
Can you imagine Anson Mount? I'm Captain Pike.
No, but it's
so much fun.
I'm not sure if like the splitting in half to two people had been done before, but I'm quite sure that if it had been done before, and how it's often done since, is you get the normal one and then you get an evil copy. You don't get a good sort of like a good weak one and an evil strong one.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
As the two halves. So like essentially you've got three Kirks this episode.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
You see a bad version of it in Voyager when B'Elanna Torres gets split in two, but really a weak imitation.
Yeah.
And,
a good imitation of it, though, is the Buffy episode where Xander gets split in two.
I was up to say Star Trek 3.
And Star Trek 3, yeah. And
sorry, not Star Trek 3, no. Superman 3.
Superman, the fight in Superman 3. See, people hate Superman 3, but
Superman 3 is brilliant.
That fight between Clark Kent and evil Superman is just fantastic. And Richard Pryor's good in that as well.
There's a lot wrong
I thought you were referring to the bit where the kind of the red man and the green man from the traffic lights, like
that's
the
good as well.
Jumps into the other. I thought that was the big epic.
There's a lot wrong with Superman 3, but that fight is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, spot on is that. Now, Superman 4, different story. Anyway. So, next week then, we will be back to talk about the penultimate episode of the season of Lower Decks and wherever that leads us. In the meantime, you can get in touch with us on Facebook. Just look us up. We're on Twitter at ReTrekPod. You can email us retrekpod@gmail.com. Dr. Squee, you've got the Dr. Squee show going on.
Just giving us all the banners. Yes, that is this Thursday. It's Tuesday, that should say. This Tuesday from 6 to 8 on SW20, we've got a Halloween special. Because we come out on Tuesday and Halloween's on a Monday this year, we kind of like are going to be leading charge on Halloween. Going to be playing some Halloween classics, and I'm going to be playing from Squeefest. We did a live link up at midnight to a ghost investigation in progress.
Oh, yes.
So really good fun, and I think worth listening. And just to throw this in there, in a wonderful bit of programming, the show I had after that was a guy who's billed as the science comedian, Brian Mello. Really lovely guy, but he did go, "Oh, what was that before me?" I go, "Well, quite opposite to the science end of things." Anyway, that's Tuesday on the Dr. Squee show.
And if you happen to be going to the Sci-Fi Weekender, we will be on stage on the Saturday, 3:30 in the spaceport, and we will be talking about when Trek goes wrong.
Which isn't us having a go at Trek, it's a tongue-in-cheek looking at some of the sillier things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll be hosting quite a few of the other panels, so come and see me talk to people.
Come and say hello.
Yeah. Come have a drink.
Come and buy us a drink.
Yeah, come buy us a drink while we're on stage.
We might even have a few drinks if one of you wants to buy us one.
Even better. Anyway, thanks for Trek. We'll see you next ReTrek.
LLAP.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Fascinating.
Oh, I've not even ended it. Ooh.